Hi everyone, this is Kalyan Kumar and welcome back to Chemistry Universe. This is episode number 13 of isomerism, and in this one we will be talking about molecular orbital theory of conformers and Gauss effect. Now in this particular episode we are going to talk about what is known as Gauss effect. There are instances where the Gauss isomer, where the bulky groups are at an angle of a dihedral angle of 60 degrees, are more stable than the anti-form. That is called Gauss effect, and we're going to look into those cases and we're going to look into why those things happen. And then we are also going to look at the explanation of that, for which we need to invoke the molecular orbital theory, because this can only be explained by the molecular orbital approach. So let's get on with it. Episode number 13 of isomerism. Now, though initially it was believed that the stability of eclipsed conformation of ethane was lower than the staggered form only due to steric and torsional strains, it is now believed that only these two repulsions cannot be responsible for the 3 kcal of difference in energies of the two conformers. So, remember in the last video, when we introduced conformations, I talked to you about ethane. And among the various conformations of ethane, we saw the eclipsed form, the staggered form. And I said the staggered form is more stable, mainly because the fact that it does not have that much of torsional strain. And of course, in the case of ethane, probably you don't have that much of steric strain also. But even if there were steric strain, it has come to light that based on calculations, theoretical calculations, it has been found that only these two cannot be responsible for the stability of staggered over ethane by a value of 3 kcal. I mean, it does make sense that staggered is going to be more stable than eclipsed, but it doesn't account for the difference in energy of 3 kilocalorie, which is huge compared to the energy increase that these repulsions would provide to the eclipsed. So to counter that, we have come out with a different argument, an argument which is more mathematical, an argument which actually helps us compute the value, which of course we will not be going to the mathematical aspect of it, but this explanation is able to give us the difference and explain why you have so much of difference. So what is the explanation? The explanation is, it is now believed that hyperconjugation, that is the interaction between the sigma bonding molecular orbital of one CH bond and the sigma star anti-bonding molecular orbital of the anti-oriented vicinal CH bond to produce a more stable extended molecular orbital is responsible for the overwhelming stability of the staggered form over the eclipsed form. So what this extremely difficult thing means is that this is the staggered form, remember? Staggered? Now if I were to draw the molecular orbitals, this is how they will look. This is the blue is the bonding molecular orbital, the red is the anti-bonding part, and for the vicinal CH, the vicinal CH is the CH attached here. For the vicinal CH, the bonding is going to be below and the anti-bonding is going to be above. So there is an overlap of the electrons of the blue with the red of the front CH and the back CH and the front. So some overlap like this, some overlap like this. Now here you might be able to understand that overlap would definitely create some kind of a stability for the staggered form, but you might wonder, why would some bonding go and give electron to an anti-bonding? Isn't anti-bonding less stable? Why would the electron go from a more stable bonding to a less stable anti-bonding? Well, it's not actually the electron going there. What is happening is that the orbitals are mixing together to give what is known as extended molecular orbitals. Now, this is where you need to understand. Now, we've already discussed this briefly in hyperconjugation. When I discussed the hyperconjugation, I talked about this, that molecular orbitals, just like atomic orbitals, mix to give molecular orbitals, which is what you have studied when you studied the introduction of MOT, the molecular orbital approach. So you were told that atomic orbitals mix to give molecular orbitals. Here I'm going one step further. I'm saying molecular orbitals once formed also mix to give what is known as extended molecular orbitals. So just like two atomic orbitals would mix to give molecular orbitals, two molecular orbitals themselves mix to give what is known as extended molecular orbitals. So what it means is that let this be the energy level of CH bonding. It has two electrons, sigma CH, and let this be the energy of the anti-bonding MT sigma star CH of the vicinal CH. So this blue is represented by this one and this red energy is represented by this one. So I'm not saying electron is going from here to here. What I'm saying is they're mixing with each other to give two new extended molecular orbitals like this. So doesn't this extended molecular orbital have energy lower than this one? So which is what the electron would like to do. The electron would like to go here. So eventually the electrons come and settle down here. And this is the extended molecular orbital. So this is the reason why the staggered is more stable than the eclipsed. Now let us understand what are the various factors that govern the stability between the antiform and the gauche form. The first is hydrogen bonding. In many instances, it has come to attention that the gauche form becomes more stable than the antiform mainly because in the gauche form, there is a possibility of hydrogen bonding, intramolecular hydrogen bonding. And that would definitely increase the stability of the gauche form. So let's look at this one. And as you can notice that in this hydrogen of one OH and this O would be intramolecular hydrogen bonded. And that would create stability. So the hydrogen bonding in the gauche form stabilizes the gauche form more than the antiform. Now one might argue that, if this OH were eclipsed, then also you can have, in fact, probably a better hydrogen bonding. That is true. But the steric repulsion comes into play and that sort of destabilizes the eclipsed form. So though the hydrogen bonding exists even in the eclipsed form, the torsional strain increases its energy as well as the steric hindrance more than the antiform. The same thing is also found if I replace one of the OH with an F. So if I replace it with an F, remember hydrogen bonding can even happen with fluorine. After all, it's a highly electronegative element. So here also the gauche form is more stable than the antiform. The second reason in some cases is called the gauche effect. Now just like in ethane, there are some cases where the gauche form becomes more stable than the antiform due to hyperconjugation. Let's understand the example. Let's look at these two. This is the gauche form, difluoro, 1,2-difluoroethane, and this is the antiform. It has been found that the gauche form is more stable. And when people were scratching their heads trying to find out why it is so, it was found that the donation of electron density from the CH bonding orbital to the CF star antibonding orbital is considered the source of stabilization in the gauche isomer. Something like this. CH has bonding, CF has antibonding, and these electrons overlap again. And the reverse overlap will not happen. You will not have overlap between bonding of this and antibonding of this. And I'll just give you an idea why it will not happen like that. Let me show you the MOT diagram. This is the two electrons in the CH bonding. This is the MT antibonding CF. And they overlap to give more stable extended molecular orbital. Now one might wonder why is this happening and why is this not happening? Remember, this kind of an overlap between this level and this level happens only when the energy difference is less. Now, it has come to attention that more electronegative an element is, CF, lower its antibonding is. And less electronegative the element is attached to carbon, CH, higher its bonding will be. Try and get this. Higher the electronegativity of the atom attached to carbon, lower would be its antibonding orbital. And lower the electronegativity of the atom attached to carbon, higher will be the bonding. And isn't that exactly what you want? You want the antibonding to be lower. You want the bonding to be higher so they can come as close to each other as possible. And that way you will find that they can mix with each other to produce an extended molecular orbital. So more electronegative an atom is, lower is its antibonding orbital, and lower the electronegativity of an atom is, higher its bonding orbital. Which is why they don't overlap, because more electronegative the atom is, lower would be its bonding, and lower the electronegativity is, higher would be the antibonding. So these two would have vast difference in energies and they can't overlap. So for best hyperconjugation stabilization of a conformer, the donor molecular orbital should be of less electronegative atom and the receiver molecular orbital should be of a higher electronegative atom. And of course, in this case, a lone pair would be even better than a bond pair in terms of donor. So if somebody were to ask us why is this more stable than its antiform, we will say not only hydrogen bonding but also Gauss effect. In this molecule, the stability of the Gauss form is more due to both hydrogen bonding and Gauss effect. What about these two? We already discussed. This is more stable again due to H bonding and Gauss effect. What about these two? Now here you are not going to find hydrogen bonding because Cl is not that electronegative enough to cause hydrogen bonding. There will be definitely some interaction with the H, but it's not going to be called hydrogen bonding. So here we will simply say the Gauss is more stable because of Gauss effect. So what about this one and this one? Again, Gauss effect. What about two Mes attached to each other? Again, Gauss effect. The third factor that detects this is the steric effect. You can't ignore this. You can't simply say, since I've studied Gauss effect, now everything is going to be Gauss more stable than anti. Because remember, steric factor also comes into play. So if I have two Mes, now here there is no electronegativity here. So there is no electronegative element here. So here the antiform is more stable because of simple steric hindrance. We've already seen this in butane. In fact, even when you have two Cls, both anti and Gauss, though here you have Gauss effect because of electronegative element and here you don't have any Gauss effect, it is the antiform which is more stable because of steric factor. The steric factor dominates. Obviously, you can never figure out which one would dominate, but at least you should know that when something like this happens, what is the reason. And factor number 4, though it is wrongly listed as 3, it is factor number 4, is electrostatic interaction. Say for example here and here. Now they are bulky groups, but remember this is positive and this is negative. There is electrostatic attraction between these two in Gauss form, whereas it is less attraction in the case of antiform, perhaps no interaction. So again, the Gauss is more stable, but this is not due to Gauss effect, it is electrostatic attraction. Similarly here. Now here Cl is electronegative, so it will have a minus I effect. So it will pull the electrons, because of which it will have delta negative. Now this methyl is a plus I effect group. So it is going to have some delta positive. And this delta minus and this delta plus will attract. Whereas it will not be so here. Again, the Gauss is more stable. So the minus I effect of Cl gives it a partial negative charge, while the plus I effect of Me gives it a partial positive charge, and that causes an electrostatic attraction. So now you have to predict the stability of the following conformers. First, let's take this one, succinic acid. And you have to do this at various pH, at low, high and very high. Now at low pH, both the hydrogens of COH would be intact, which means the conformations would look like this. This is the antiform and this is the Gauss form. And obviously, here the COH, C being attached to a highly electronegative element, it will pull the electrons. So you can consider this group to be electronegative. So there will be Gauss effect. And moreover, there will be hydrogen bonding, the H of this and the O of this. And here you will not find anything of that sort. The steric hindrance here that does not dominate, so the Gauss is more stable. So intramolecular hydrogen bonding and Gauss effect. Now at a slightly higher pH, one of the H would come off and it will become an anion. One COH will become an anion. And again, you will find there is an electrostatic interaction, there is hydrogen bonding here. And besides that, in fact, this hydrogen bonding is going to be greater than the hydrogen bonding here because there is a minus here. Moreover, this COH still will have a Gauss effect. So I'll call it a partial Gauss effect, as this is not going to experience any Gauss effect because the CO minus is a releasing group. So again, this is more stable due to hydrogen bonding and partial Gauss effect. And if you were to go to a very high pH in both, such that both COH would lose their H+. So at very high pH, they will both become CO minus, and now they will repel each other and there will be no Gauss effect at all. So obviously the anti is more stable. Electrostatic repulsion. How about this? What do you think? Pause the video. Think about it. More stable is the Gauss form. Why? Because CN is not a big group. It's a linear group. So it's not big enough to cause any steric repulsion. And it will only show Gauss effect. How about this one? Now think about it carefully. Pause the video. 1, 2, 3. Think about it. Pause the video. Well, as you can see, here the R and Me are going to have a lot of steric repulsion. Here the Me and the R are not aligned, but at least this phenyl group is pretty close. But here they are vastly distant. Therefore, it is totally steric. So it will be 3, 2, 1. Steric effect. And as I said, even lone pair can be donors in the case of hyperconjugation. So if it were to this, now here remember, the Cl is opposite to the lone pair, there will be Gauss effect. Whereas here, the Cl is opposite to Me, there won't be any Gauss effect. So this is basically a Gauss effect. So Gauss effect, this is due to the interaction between the non-bonding molecular orbital of oxygen on one carbon and sigma star antibonding molecular orbital CCl bond. So the lone pair is here and the sigma star CCl is here and they overlap. In fact, lone pairs are better donors than even bonded electrons. How about this one? Again, Gauss effect, because lone pairs are pretty good donors. So even if it is not electronegative, the lone pair are pretty good donors. Their electrons, their orbitals are pretty high up and therefore they can easily donate electrons. So here, this lone pair is opposite to this H and this lone pair is opposite to this H. Gauss effect. Here the H's are opposite to each other. The lone pairs are opposite to each other. You not have Gauss effect. Now one may argue, how about lone pair repulsion? There will be greater lone pair repulsion as they are all at 60-degree angle. Here it is not so. Only this 60 and this is 60. But the fact of the matter is the dominating power is the Gauss effect. And that is the reason. So the lone pair and the sigma star CH and both electrons come here. And that concludes this video. So this was a short video on Gauss effect and what are the factors that contribute to the stability of various conformations. In the next video, we'll be talking about cyclic molecules. We'll talk about the conformations of cyclic molecules. Till then, this is Kalyan Kumar signing off. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye and thank you for watching this.